And good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on into the Dragon's Den on this fine New Year's Eve. Welcome on in, Shawdell, Petty Ruxpin, Westery. What's up, sis? Hey, Westery. Told you I was wearing it. We're gonna have to switch over to a different camera to do a little bit of a close-up, but be like that. Here's the new Westery 1 shirt, everybody. It does have Bang Mia right down here. I'm not sure if it's going to show up or not. But there is the new Westery 1 shirts. They are, I want to say this was the XL. So it's got a little bit of room on it, which is pretty nice. It's a thicker, heavier shirt too. So overall, darn it, why are you... Let me come back over here. It's a thicker, heavier shirt, so it's a really nice shirt. And like I said, I like to support all the other creators in the community that help support me and keep things going for all of us. So today it's Westery 1. Hope you're doing well today, sis. Size good or is it too big? I got the XL. So it's good. I normally wear a large, and I've started getting XL just because I may have found 10 pounds recently. But it's good. It's a comfy shirt. It's a comfy shirt. Part of my New Year's resolution is to lose the 10 pounds that I found this year. And really, it's like over the last 3-4 months that I found that 10 pounds. So we need to lose it again. Hey, Papa Bear Yellnuts, welcome on in. Chewy, how's it going? How's it going, everybody? Yes, Happy New Year, Eagle. Welcome on in. And since you're part of the family, welcome, Happy New Year to you, Eagle. Yes, yes. Ditto, but more like 20. Gotcha. So today we're going to be continuing on with the RatRig Mill. And I just realized that camera is, why is that camera seeming like it's tilted a little bit? Oh no, I can't fix that without messing with the actual screen. So we're not going to fix that, but it is canted a little bit, isn't it? I'll have to play with that later. But, yeah, today we're going to continue with the RatRig Mill, and this is probably going to be the most that we can do at this point. The only way I can go any further would be to physically take the VFD and spindle off the Milo to put onto this to put onto this mill, and I'm not going to do that. If I do anything, I'll go play with the Milo for a little bit. But what we have going on today is pretty much everything right here. In fact, I didn't even take a picture of this. I probably should so that I can do that thing like, I don't know, socials. Guess I should do that before I get too far here, huh? There we go. Problem solved. What we've got here is the metal parts for the enclosure itself, the power supply, the exterior or external antenna, the rodent board itself. This is the emergency stop button, which is really critical when you're dealing with something that's spinning at high velocity and can chuck metal around the room. Trust me. And my overhead camera froze again. We're going to be playing this game. Not nice. This camera, I swear to God, I'm going to take it and throw it away or maybe use it for target practice. So I'm going to be getting a new camera soon. Thank you, Cisco. And then we have a bunch of printed parts over here that you cannot necessarily see too much anymore. Now, what I did earlier while I was sitting over on Royal Nomi stream playing Murder Bears, was I did go through and put in all the heat set inserts. So these are the corner brackets. There's 2 on this side, 2 on this side, top, bottom, front, back, however you want to call it. And so I got the 4 corners done. We have 2 in the side here, 2 in the top. We've got 2 of these pieces. This is going to be for the board itself. And then we've got these 2 pieces here where we also needed a couple of heat set inserts. Just went ahead and did those off stream while I was sitting here. Office space, exactly. Yeah, no, I think what I'm going to wind up doing is this front camera here is the Tiny 2 OBS spot camera, Ozbot, whatever, Obspot. I'm going to get another one and put it up here, and I should be able to do actual some tighter views using some zoom and stuff like that. So this is the goal today, is to build this part. Now, what we're going to do is we've got CAD here that we can work through. Let me try and put some things back in. So this is the CAD here, rubber ducky antenna coming out the top, switch on the side. There's a switch. This is the inlet for the wires. And then at the bottom will be the cooling fan that's going to cool everything down. If we hide the top of the box here, you'll see basically at the bottom we're going to have our power supply, and then above the power supply, hanging between these 2 brackets, is going to be the Rodent board, which once again, it is the Big Tree Tech Rodent. It is made specifically for the RatRig Mill. Hey, Michaela Slay, welcome on in. Welcome on in. And BC23D, aka Royal Nomi, rating in with a party of 21. Welcome on in, Royal Nomi. Thank you for the stream. Let's see, we got Tin Talon, Da Vinci, K2 Kevin. Hey, K2. Stephen Poole, C. Gorecki Designs, of course, Royal Nomi. You brought friends. Yes, you did. Hey, Pez Liz. Oh, and by the way, let me see if I can dig something out real fast. I've been meaning to take some pictures, but I do want to show this off because I did build a thing. And not only did I build a thing, but I'm using a thing. This is K2 Kevin's. This is the XXL, so this is the 3 deep by 5 across. This is the XXL, right? Or the XL. I think it's the XL. Happy birthday. It's not my birthday yet, K2. Almost. It'll be in February. But we're about at our 2-year streamiversary. So that is coming up. I will be announcing that probably Saturday. I'm trying. Oh, and Pez Liz cheered 5 bits. Thank you, Liz. But yes, I will be doing a streamiversary stream in January, and I do have a couple of things that I will be giving away. I'm still talking with some vendors, trying to get some things set up. I will give you a teaser and say that I do have LDO Motors on board, West 3Ds on board, Polymakers on board, and Fadis is on board so far. So I'm still waiting for some responses. Like I said, when you're reaching out to people between Christmas and New Year's, you know, people are traveling, spending time with family. They're not checking. So, oh, thank you for the 250 bits, Pez Liz. With that new stash, party is in the front tool. What is that? With that new stash, party is in the front too. Okay. I think so. Let us know if you need help. You volunteer Westery One. There you go. There you go. Westery One can definitely help. So yeah, we've got we're actually like using the drawers in this as well. We've got stuff in the drawers. You know, I tried to clean up my desk some and get some of the various bits, bobs, and crap off of it. So we are using it. I like it so far. It works really well. In fact, I printed out the 4x6, and it's over at Mrs. Dragon's desk downstairs. So I need to take some pictures and put my makes up. And I will say that speaking of doing pictures and putting makes up and stuff, I did just order a green screen and a couple of more lights so that I can take pictures and post some of the things I'll be working on this year. Pez Liz, thank you for the other 101 bits. And yes, for the giveaway, I will have Mrs. Dragon up here helping as well. I thought he said you were giving away printers. Well, I'm not going to tell you what has been offered up just yet. I'm waiting for everything to come in. Like LDO Motors has said that they're going to support the giveaway, but he is currently out of town on travel. So I'm waiting for him to get back to figure out what is going to be offered up for the giveaway. So we'll see. And yeah, we'll just say that there are various things in the works. I do like it, Kevin. I've always liked desk organizers for whatever reason. So when you came out with it, I knew I was going to be printing it. I don't know why it took me so long. It took me way longer than it should have. Well, darn it. That's under, but yeah. Westery One just cheered another 100 bits. Thank you, sis. Thank you. I appreciate that. By the way, how's Mia doing tonight? Hope she's doing well. And folks, for those of you that have animals, please be cognizant. Most animals do not like the loud noise and of fireworks and stuff. So just be cognizant. Make sure that they're, you know, if you got some headphones for them, put some headphones on them later on tonight. If not, just keep them close, cuddle on them, and love them. I know Mrs. Dragon really is not a big fireworks fan. So later on today, yeah, when the fireworks start going off, because I'm outside city limits, so people around here tend to get a little bit crazy. We'll be, you know, just chilling out and trying to put on some headphones and relaxing. If you have some veterans, keep an eye on them, please, especially when loud bangs start going off. Hey, 10 Talon, thank you for the 100 bits. I appreciate it. And Royal Nomi in BC, thank you for the 200 bits. I appreciate it. Oh, cool, Kevin. That's going to be awesome. Yeah, I need to probably print out the... so right now on my Stream Deck, I'm just using the standard Stream Deck thing. But I think I may wind up printing out yours just because I like some of the different modularity to it. And as I expand over this year in various things, I'll probably print out some more of your stuff because, well, I like it. And then, yeah, right now, I'm not sure if you can hear it, but I've got the K1C printing something. It's actually pretty funny. I downloaded the file off of Maker World, sliced it in Orca, and have it printing on the Creality K1C. Partly because the only ones in that style of design, it's one of the geared fidget toys. And it's all the ones on Maker World that are decent were paid models, and I really wanted to do one first to see if the mechanisms work well and stuff, and if I like it for who I'm planning on giving it to. And if I do, then I'll go and pay for a paid model, because all of them, it's not like a per model, it's a, you have to do a subscription to get access to their models. Dogs have been medicated for their first dose. There you go, Westery. Of calming chews. Okay. Thank you for the alert, Nomi. Yeah, and I've got several of the drawers already printed. The problem is I printed them in a gray that, yeah, I just need to find the right gray and then just order it in like bulk. And I do mean bulk. Like the dark gray and the light gray I used in the ones that I showed is the K2 gray and then the standard light gray. So that's worked well. A lot of the other parts that I have been printing lately, like for the storm bolter that I was printing, this is the Elegoo gray. I think it was Elegoo or any cubic. Probably that's probably yes. It's any cubic gray. It's not as dark, but it's fairly dark, and I think it's pretty good as a base. And of course, these are all going to be painted. I'm not sure if I'm going to just paint them as they are because the layer lines are pretty good, or if I'm going to like go through and do the whole sanding and stuff like that. So we'll see. But I've got like a storm bolter, which is basically a double barrel handgun thing from Warhammer 40,000, a standard bolter, which is a single barrel, and then a chain sword. So we got some projects that we'll be putting together on channel as well. Yeah, I've been looking for a lot of dark gray. Yeah, because even like, so cosplay is good, right? The cosplay PLA is good. Let me double check. This one I think is actually, I can't remember if this is cosplay PLA. No, this was ABS. The cosplay PLA just, I mean, I don't get as good a surface finish on it, and I'm going to have to sand it anyhow. But I found like if I print in ABS, I get a lot better surface finish out of it. So, and we're in a level 1 hype train that I apparently missed the start of. So thank you everybody for getting a level 1 hype train started. I need to pressure the PM to get it in promo. Yes, yes. Just a little sparkle like Digital Dragon's eyes. Liz, big heart, Liz. Just make sure that Mrs. Dragon's not hearing you say things like that. She'll really start, people will really start to talk. But yeah, we've got several printed projects that I've been doing. A lot of cosplay stuff that I might wind up just trying to print and then hang up around the area for display or put on display to show off, hey, here's some of the things that I can make. Because like I said, we are launching the Digital Dragon 3D LLC this year as well. We've got that stood up. I still need to, I don't know, go and open up a bank account for it and do all that good stuff. But that is standing up this year. And we'll be looking at going a little bit more formal. You may see some rebranding on the channel, over the coming months. So you love Mrs. Dragon more. I know. You got more leg than a bucket of chicken. Oh my God, K2. Oh my God. Kevin. But yes, welcome on in, everybody. Thank you for being here. We did get a 49% of a level 1 hype train with 791 bits. Thank you so much for that. By the way, folks, this is going to be a relatively short stream because we're just going to be putting the electronics stuff together here. Let's see if our overhead camera came back or if it's still frozen. It's back for now, so that's good. Like I said, we're going to be building this basically looking at the CAD. There are some instructions that they have on the website for this. It does basically show a little bit of a video introduction. Or was it video? No, maybe not. Or does it need to have slides? Okay, so it looks like there's going to be some jumpers, some wiring, some stuff like that. It talks about how to set up the wiring, finding your phases for your motors, and then doing your connections. Now, this is the interesting thing. When we start doing the connections, actually, I think we'll hold off on this. We're just going to build the enclosure tonight and get that started first. The goal here tonight is just to do a short stream. Because one, it's New Year's Eve. Two, it's it's beginning of bowl day for college football. So we have the we've got the first of the quarterfinal bowl games today. Make everybody blush. That she does. She knows how to make us all blush. So yeah, it's college bowl day starting today. So we're going to kind of do a little bit and then try and watch the quarterfinal bowl games. There's one tonight and 3 tomorrow. We're going to kind of do that. Just kind of play a little easy, relax tonight. I have to go back to work next week, so we'll see. We'll see how far we go. So a couple of things that we need to do is get some things ready to be mounted. So we start with our back plate, and our back plate is going to be the plate here that has the extra holes. So the big holes up here at the top and bottom would be the holes that we would use to mount it on the Z pillar. If we're going to mount it on the back of the mill. The 4 holes here in the middle are going to be used to mount the power supply. And then, of course, the 4 corner holes will be to mount it to the corner brackets here. Now, to mount it to the power supply, this is kind of an interesting one because normally you would see it just directly mounted to the back of the plate, and that way the plate itself could act as some additional cooling. Well, here they don't do that. What they're going to do, and that's the first time I've ever seen a power supply that is shrink wrapped. Kind of interesting. What we're going to do is elevate this off the back panel a little bit. So we'll get the shrink wrap off. Now this is a WeHo. This is not a Meanwell. This is a WeHo, W-E-H-O. It is an LRS 350/24. So it's a 14.6 amp output. It looks very much like a Meanwell, but it is a WeHo with the same part number, LRS 350/24 that we're used to seeing. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to mount 2 of these brackets. And at first, when I was looking at these, I was like, okay, that almost looks like just a magnet depression and then more magnets in the back. That's a sacrificial layer We're just going to poke through it, and we're going to use M4 screws to mount them to the back of the power supply here. We're just going to push through these layers. We might have to pick out the pieces that we just broke, but we're just pushing through. Like just 2 layers of support or bridge material. We're just getting that out of the way. We should have some M4 screws. I have no idea what size they are, but I'm also only expecting to have 4 of them. So here's M4 by 6. So for those of you that don't know, the mounting holes on the rear of a power supply are always M4. And because the main circuit board is right underneath these, you're always going to use like an M4 by 6 or less than an M4 by 8. Otherwise, you stand the chance of getting your screw at the circuit board and having some type of a short. And these are going to go in with the little U-shaped gap channel facing the back so that your M3 heat set inserts are sitting up. And once again, if you need to, just pick out that extra the excess printed material there that you punch through. Just trying to get it out of the way so it doesn't get in the way of screws. Once again, line these up. Screw these down in there. Yeah, they might be made in the same factory. That is true, because even the mean wells, I think, are made over in the Far East. So the only difference probably is what ratings they actually apply for, because the more third-party certifications you get, the more you're going to have to pay for those. Like, you see a lot of companies that might be ISO certified, UL certified. Well, that means they've been tested, right? And that testing comes at a cost because they're being tested by third-party labs. So that cost is normally incorporated into the product. So when you wind up getting a cheaper product, it's normally because they haven't gone through the same rigor of certification testing. Okay, so now we've got our power supply mounting brackets installed. What we're going to do is take our back plate here, and our corner holes here are countersunk. So those need to be on the outside. All the others are straight through holes. So countersunk, and we're going to need more of the space down at the bottom. So the bottom being where our terminals are. So we're going to set it down like this. Our holes are all set so that this is a shorter gap than the gap down here. So we're going to line this up once again with our countersunk holes, corner holes facing us, because that will be the outside. We're just going to line up our 4 holes. And these are going to be M3 by 6 button head screws. Though I say that, and what they provided was M3 by 8. So maybe they are 8, or maybe it said 6 in the CAD and they just put 8 in the thing. Who knows? We're going to use the 8s because there are no 6s in the package. Yeah, tested equals paid for. And hey, Pete, how's it going? Welcome in tonight. And I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that I can get all 4 screws started. And then I'll screw them, I'll tighten everything down. Like I said, most times when I see them do this, they will mount the power supply directly to the box, which in a sense then turns the box into a grounded, the whole box then is grounded. But here we've got a standoff, which allows some airflow. Also, if you mount it directly to the back piece, then it's not only grounded, but this also forms a heat sink that helps draw heat off of our power supply. The other thing that we want to do while we've got it out here is check. We're currently set for 230, so we need to switch this over to 115. Always make sure you double check that. Now what we're going to do is install our 4 corner brackets, because that will get us started here. And of course, these are going to use countersunk screws on the back panel. So we'll set this up on its edge, and we'll get our bracket. Now I'm going to get it fairly snug, but I'm not going to tighten it all the way down. We'll tighten it after we get the side panels in. That way we have a little bit of rotation ability. And the other thing I'm going to do, just to be crazy OCD, is make sure that I put all these on in the same way. So I'm putting them on here with the textured side, which was on the build plate, towards this back panel. Once again, textured side, top layer. And these prints, all of the RatRig stuff that I've done so far, so the RatRig VCore 4 build, the and even the IDEX kit that I just got, are I got them with the printed parts from RatRig, and all of these prints are top notch. They look beautiful. They're really top notch. So I'm assuming they're printing these on their RatRigs and in their own print farm, and they look amazing. Okay. So our top, we're going to have the grate. This will be allowing the exhaust to come up, and we've got that hole right there. This hole is going to be for our antenna coming out, and it looks like it needs to be towards the top, not the back. So this piece will mount right there. Whoops. We'll set that up. We'll grab some more of our M3 by 8s. And once again, I'm not going to fully tighten these up. Until I get them all started. Hey, Free Heathen, how's it going, my friend? Welcome on in. Yeah, there are some kit parts that you will get and see that are just garbage, but the ones that I have gotten from RatRig have, like I said, they've all been very good quality. Okay, so there's those 4 screws and the first panel on there. Now, when we go to put our side panels on, we're going to have the one panel that has the, let me bring that back up and come over here, and you guys can't see what I'm doing, so we'll put this over. So this is the one side panel. We're going to have our inlet. We're going to have our grommet through the hole there. And then we're going to have a spot where our board will sit. So what I'm going to do is actually mount this first. And let me see if I can get on those screws. M3 by 20. Don't know why they're M3 by 20. Seems to be very long, but we'll go with it, maybe. M3 by 20 button head screws. Probably just adding more support in there with that board sitting on it. Uh-oh, why are you a little sick, Free Heathen? Oh, and wait. Miss Beans has taken off and gone back, correct? So this piece is going to mount right here. And when we put this piece on, that's not right. Oh, I put that piece on the wrong side. All right, let's fix that real fast. We put this piece on the wrong side. Okay, she go home next week then? May have worn yourself out on the 48-hour stream? Yeah. That would do it. Like, I haven't even streamed that long. I think I've done a 9-hour stream, or a little over a 9-hour stream, and it destroyed me. Way, way too long. Okay. Well, I hope you get to feeling better, my dude. So we're going to flip this over where we're at the top once again, and the hole for the whatchamacallit is going to be towards the front here. Or the, I guess the rear, what have you. Yep. Hey, Bexy Beans. You bought them cupcakes? Oh yeah. Cupcakes all works well on flu from what I've heard. In fact, I had been feeling bad, so Mrs. Dragon got a bunch of Dayquil and NyQuil, and a bunch of nothing bundt cakes. So the small ones, not the big ones. I've got the small ones. And I think it's like chocolate, mint chocolate chip or something like that is a couple of them. So now that I've got the top end, I am going to go ahead and snug these two down as well. So now, let's do this one. So now with the top now on there right and all of our connections down here, the side piece, when we put it on like this, our outlet's going to be down here at the bottom. Our grommet for our wires coming in from the mill. And then we're going to have these two holes right here. What we're going to do on these two holes is we're going to mount our bracket for our board. And those are going to be done with M3 by 20s, which are just obscenely long for going through a thin piece of metal. Like obscenely long there. But it's going to provide additional support because it's going to go in through this printed part so long. So just get this started. Well, Benadryl is good for allergies and like scratchy eyes and stuff like that. The NyQuil and the DayQuil I've been taking for the congestion and the stupid crazy runny nose. So that's been my biggest issue. It's just been the nose that won't stop. Right? So, dear God, it's like this screw. You know when you do if you do a death racer, there's on the wheels, on the original like Mark 1, they had M3 by 50 screws. Dude, it felt like you were screwing those in for days. Okay, so we've got the support panel in. I'm not going to worry about the grommet or the outlet just yet. I've got that piece in, and I'm going to go ahead and do my 4 screws to mount the side panel. Once again, just getting them started. Not screwing any of them down just yet because, well, this is a thin steel, and it feels like steel, not aluminum. So this is a thin steel, and whenever you cut thin steel or punch thin steel, it can bow a lot. So that's why you want to make sure you get all 4 corners started and make sure that everything lines up nice before you tighten them down. Oh, catch your Z's. Yep. So here we are so far. Now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing over on this other side. Once again, making sure that you set your voltage on this side before you do anything, or before you close up this side. And this plate will only go on one way so that your board, or your support will fit in there. So we're going to do the same thing, make sure it's in the right spot. We'll line up our other support. And get it mounted. Oh, I'm glad you had a nice lunch. Hey, Layers with Lily, welcome in. Happy New Year's from Europe. Yeah, it's already New Year's over in Europe, right? I know somebody was over in the Philippines and they had already shown pictures of all the fireworks and stuff and little videos, which was amazing. You need to get some plane supplies, something for sleep, some nose spray to stop my nose drying, and then making. Oh yeah, like you need some like saline spray, just straight saline spray to help keep things clear and moisturized. Yep. And once again, when we put this in there, we want to make sure that um, that both of these are in the same orientation, facing the same way up. And now we can put in our other 4 screws over here. You can barely hear over all the fire. Oh yeah. I can tell you, I was in Germany and I was living in a town called Taunusstein. And when they had fireworks there for New Year's, I swear to God, it was almost like you were in downtown Baghdad during the beginning of the war. There were so many fireworks. Like it was literally that bad. Um, and so that's why I say, if you've got military veterans, be sure to check on them during New Year's. And like in our case, 4th of July, or anytime there's celebrations with fireworks in your country, check on your military people. A lot of them, yeah, just need to be checked on during this time of year, specifically because of all of uh, the noises and stuff, right? So we held off on our grommet so far. I don't want to do the bottom plate just yet because we're going to need to do some wiring, and I think keeping this side open is going to be helpful. What we can do is go ahead and mount our fan. So we're going to have a fan, some wires. Nice that they cut the wires, but they didn't terminate them for us. We've got some 4-pin connectors. These will be for the motors. What we've got here? Why? Heat cap for M6. No idea. We've got some. Okay, these will be the spade connectors with insulation shielding on them. That'll be for putting them on the outlet. Let's see. This is black and red wire, so this will be for the outlet, and this will be for the DC side of things. So that's probably going to be coming from here to the board. Got plenty of our JST connectors. And once again, these are our fork terminals. So we'll be actually building our wiring for the outlet and stuff. And these are the 3-pin connectors that'll be used for the end stops. So we'll put the JST stuff up there. We'll leave. Throw that over there. We'll have this here. What am I thinking of? Let's go ahead and get the those there. What I want to do, let me get the fan and that door prepped. So, and then we'll have the fork connectors. We did have a grill that's going to go through there. There's going to be a grill on one side, the fan on the other. Hey, Shenanigans, welcome on in. Glad you're here. I just realized I've got like 2 cameras going. There's the overhead. So this is going to be the end plate that will go on the bottom here. This will have our fan with the grill. And we're going to have, how do we put this in? What screws do we use? Actual fan screws, self-tapping fan screws. That's nice because that way we shouldn't have to worry about like putting heat set inserts or anything in the fans. I will need to grab a Phillips head screwdriver. We'll grab the standard P2 Phillips head screwdriver. Pull our fan out. Now the fan, weirdly enough, the fan has a, well, not weirdly enough, because most fans come this way. It has a standard 2-pin JST connector, but I believe it's going to be connected directly to DC power, to the DC power here on the power supply, which means it will be always on. And we want the air coming in from the bottom and out through the top. So basically we're gonna push air straight up like it would normally be going. So we'll set our fan down. How do we want this to go? We want the, let's put the cable at the bottom. Doesn't really matter. Short side. Line that up. We'll put the grill cage on there. And then we'll take one of our screws. And once again, this is going to go through the grill cage, through the metal plate and into the fan. And they're self-tapping into the fan itself. So we'll just need to make sure that we keep these lined up. And as these are self-tapping into plastic, don't crank on it too much. Hey, Kenneth D, welcome in. So how are you doing tonight, Shenanigans? I hope you are off and not having to drive tonight. Okay, so now that's prepped, we will install this with the wire facing down so that it's out of the way as much as possible. And like I said, we'll worry about doing the connections and installing this plate in a few minutes. What we are going to focus on, though, is installing our rodent board over here. Got some Big Tree Tech stickers. Got another rubber ducky. Got some jumpers. Now we do get a wireless antenna here that, wireless antenna that we're not going to use. We're going to use the rubber ducky that came with it. So we can toss this into our, over into our bench stock of extra antennas. You do enough with small boards, you're going to wind up ordering a bunch of antennas because some of your small like W32 boards or ESP32 boards don't come with external wireless antennas, and they really need them depending on the application you're doing. So we've got that done. Roll back out, come back up here. And the way they're lining this up are USB connection. So kind of looking at the way that the things set up here are USB connection, SD card are going to be facing the top. There's our little wireless connector. That's normally a pain in the butt to get on there, so we'll probably want to install that sooner rather than later. So we'll grab that out of here. You can get that installed. Let me see if I can get just the antenna and not all the other accoutrements. These little connectors are the biggest pain in the tuchus to get lined up and installed. Every once in a while, you'll get one that just pops right on, and then other times you'll get, you know, it's like the most painful thing in the world. Okay, got it on there. Now, I do want to see, while I've got this out of the case, if there are jumpers that we need to install. So I am going to look over here at the full display. The Built Over bot said something interesting. What printer would be fun to build if I choose to build one? Shenanigans, this is the Rodent board. This is the Big Tree Tech Rodent version 1.0. It is built specifically for the RatRig Mill. There's a slightly larger board that Big Tree Tech has announced called, I think it's Scylla or Scylla. Scylla, I believe. And it looks like it's a little bit bigger and it's more mill agnostic, so it can be used with different mills. I haven't seen that board yet. I don't know why that wouldn't work here as well, but you might just be on your own for doing the firmware and stuff like that. But what I was trying to do was I wanted to see if there are specific jumpers that I need to put in place on this before I start mounting it in here and things start getting tighter. So insert jumpers on the highlighted pins. Okay, so it looks like one by the USB and then a couple of others. So we're going to need 3 jumpers. We're going to need to do the one right over here by the USB. And that is plus 5 volt, plus 5 volt. So it looks like that adds, or that engages 5 volt. On the set of 3 pins right here by my finger, we're going to be setting either 5 volt, 12 volt, or VB. So we're going to set that to 5 volt because it's the furthest one out or the closest to the little resistors here. And then on the other 3-pin connector right over by the cap here, we're going to add one on the VB. So I guess that's going to be the voltage in. They're basically setting it as 5 volt, 12 volt, or voltage in. So once again, let me go to the larger bench side view. So this set of 3 jumpers right here between the caps, it's all the way on the right, closer to the screw down terminals, which means it's at VB. This set of terminals right here are being set the farthest position away from the screw down terminals, which is 5 volt. And then this one over here is jumpering over to 5 volt. This is taking 5 volt and making it available to everything. So those are the 3 jumpers that we're setting right now, based on the board or the diagram here. Hey, Job Pro Wabadabos, welcome in. Welcome in. But yes, this is the dedicated rodent board for this build. Let me see if there was anything else preliminary we needed to do. And no, the next thing here is identifying the motor stepper coils. We won't be able to do that just yet because we have to extend our motor wires. We're not going to even wire up the motor wires just yet until we decide and determine where we're going to put our motor wires, right? We've got a certain length of cabling that has been provided. We've got some 20 gauge 4-wire. This will be used, whoops. So this is some 20 gauge 4-wire, right? And this will be used to run all the motor wiring. And then we've got 24 gauge 3-wire here. And this will be used to extend the, if needed, the end-stop wiring, and I believe the probe wiring. And you'll notice here that we're going to figure out, whoops, Pro Streamer here. You notice here that what we're going to do is we're going to figure out the coils, so what coils what, and find out our pairs for our coils. Once we figure those out, then we will go ahead and do some wire jacks basically at each motor. If you remember, each one of our motors had a little stub of wire, and we're going to put those on these 4-wire connector blocks, and then we'll extend those wire connectors out. We'll do the same thing for our end-stop wiring. Okay, so we'll have to prepare the 4-wire cable for the Z stepper motor. Okay, 4-wire cable, entire length, don't cut it. Insert an extension, female side, into the cable end, connect it with the screws. Okay, great. Now that's what we're left with, is the stub from the Z, and then the big one here. Then we'll route the Z stepper wire as shown in the picture, where it'll come off the Z motor and down through the top. Use a zip tie to constrain the mill cable, blah, 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 blah. Finally, exit at the rear above the Y stepper and into the electronics enclosure or your desired location. Leave an extra 300 millimeters at least to route it to the controller, crimp the connector, cut the wires to the final length, and crimp your connector. So we're actually going to be building our motor extension links as we go. So that's what we're going to do in the next stream, really. The end stops, we should be good to go unless they tell us to basically cut them short and do the same thing. Yeah, it didn't tell us to cut them short, right? It's just telling us to run them because these had long wires on them, so we're not having to do those. We're just cutting those to length and then doing them. We'll have our emergency stop that we'll have to do some wiring on. Uh, 1515 axial fan will go there. So I didn't get a probe, so I'm not sure if I have to buy a probe separately or if this is coming with the spindle stuff or which is just yet to come. Yeah, so the big question is whether or not we're going to mount this directly on the back and then have the VFD separate. Or if we mount the VFD on the back, basically we're going to try and give ourselves some leeway here. But this is going to lay down onto the board mounts here. Let me switch back over here. It's going to lay down onto the plastic mounts that we had installed on the sides here. So we're going to have our fan, our PSU. It does have a cooling fan. The other cooling fan is going to be here. That's going to be to cool this board off. And there is a gap here between the fan on the PSU and the bottom of the board here. So that will also help to draw some heat off of the drivers. Let's get that lined up. And I'll flip back over to the CAD and see what screws are we working on here. In 3x6. And those are socket head screws, so we'll grab those. So I hope everyone's doing well today. Like I said, today's just kind of a shorter stream. We're just trying to get the electronics assembled, and we need to really figure out how we're going to mount things up. And by that, I mean, I don't have my VFD yet. And there's a couple of ways that you can mount things. Like this could be mounted to the back of the mill. Or if you're going to be using a VFD, you can mount the VFD to the back of the mill, right? And I've seen a couple of different ways that this can be mounted. One person cut aluminum strips and mounted this basically to the side of the mill, with the VFD actually on the back of the mill and this hanging off the side of the pillar using two strips to have this mounted next to the pillar. So that's an option, of course. Just various ways that it can be done. So we'll have to figure that out down the road. But for right now, we've got this mounted. There's really no easy way to loop this around, but it's going to get looped around right there. Let's grab our mounting pieces. We're going to have one washer underneath, a washer on the top. So the crush washer goes underneath, up against the base. The lock washer goes on top, and then the other nut. And I'll hold this up and bring us closer bench side. So once again, we stick the base through with a crush washer underneath. That'll go up and get pushed in. Then we have the lock washer, and then we'll have the other nut that goes on top. And we will tighten that down. And I'll probably get in here with a couple of wrenches and make sure it's really nice and tight. But this will provide our external antenna. And right now it's just coiled around there where it's out of the way. You can, yeah, just leave it there where it's out of the way. We need to work on our power inlet. And there is a section in the manual that will deal with the mains power. I like how, I say section in the manual. It's not really the manual. It's more of, sorry there, folks. It's more of, I guess there is a manual for the electronics. So once again, this is doing the basic electronics, setting up the motors and the end stops and the main power, okay? This would be how you connect up the VFD. So the spindle VFD, we're gonna come straight off and it'll show us how to set that up once we get our VFD. I'm still waiting for it to be shipped. This does show basically the connectivity everywhere that we're setting up. This just adds the VFD into for everything. So we'll have our motors, our end stops, our kill switch, the fan. Once again, the fan's going to be set to always on basically. And then mains power. And it tells you have to understand the risks, blah, blah, blah. Talks to you about how to crimp, which is always nice. And it's going to tell you to prepare the wires. Okay, so we'll set this aside for 1 second. We're going to grab our 3 wires. We'll have 3 wires, blue, green, and what is that, red or brown? The wires out of there. You'd want to isolate from vibration. Yeah, so there's the thing. It can be mounted on the back of the unit. It can be, there are feet provided where we could actually set these up on feet rather than mounting it to the back of the unit. There will be a way that rather than mounting it in this enclosure, there will be a standalone enclosure with den rails, and you'll mount everything on den rails. I'm kind of the thought of I want this to be basically on the side so I can move it outside the enclosure or cover it and keep it away from all the chips. And then have the VFD hanging on the back of the unit, which is basically what we're doing with the Milo is the VFD hangs on the back of the unit. But on the Milo, all of the electronics are underneath the Y-axis with a cover, right? So they're out of the way. But for now, I'm going to build it in the box, and I think I'm going to leave the box kind of separate, kind of like the LH Stinger, so we can move it away and at least put some other barrier between it so we don't get a bunch of chips all over it. So what we're going to do for these pieces right here is we're going to set up our crimp connectors. So we're going to have a blue wire, a brown wire, and well, I guess we got, what? There's 2 brown wires and a blue wire. I don't know about you, but that looks like a brown and a green. So don't know about that. So those are the same size. And I think what we're missing is the 80mm brown jumper wire. Because you'll have 2 that come over, 2 that come over. This one goes direct, and then you'll have the 2 that come out. That's weird. Yeah, I'll just do the spade to fork right now. Yeah, this is missing the little 80mm jumper wire. So we'll have to figure that out in a minute. We'll make it out of something. That's not that big of a deal. So on the 120s, we're going to have a spade and a fork connector. So we need to do a spade and a fork connector on each one. So we'll have our package of fork connectors here and our spade connectors. Now these are already pre-stripped, so that makes life a little bit easier for us, except for probably trying to get the insulation to go over the wire without pulling a strand. And that was maybe easier than I expected. Okay, we're going to start with the spade connector side. And these are done just like basically our JSTs. So let me grab my crimpers here. Once again, they do show us how to do that. They are using standard crimpers like what I've got right here. So see about switching over to this one. Actually, let me do it a different way. Back to there, that one off. We'll switch over to this one, make this bigger, and the instructions non-existent. That's showing the CAD. Let's pull up the, there we go. Okay, so we're going to crimp this on. We're going to crimp the furthest one is only going around, or the middle one is only going around the wire. We'll crimp that one first. Then we'll come back and crimp the larger piece on the tail end around the insulation. And we want to make sure that we're putting it on the end so that our insulation cover comes over it. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay our wire in there with this piece right at the insulation edge. Any excess will come over the front there. And we're about right. So we just flip that piece over. And what we're left with is a nice crimp over that wire. Now the wire is probably, in all honesty, a little bit longer than it needs to be. We could probably make that wire a little bit shorter. I'm good with the way it comes. And then I normally go to one size up to do the crimp over the insulation. And once again, there's the crimp over the insulation. Then all we're going to do is we're going to take this, line it up, and slide it up over the top. And there's our fade side done. Then the other side would be a fork connector, and we'll come back and we'll use a different crimper for that. So we're just going to rinse and repeat. Lay the wire in with our insulation kind of right there at the end, right? The wire does come, I mean, we can trim the wire some if we really wanted to. I'm not going to. If it becomes a problem, I'll figure something out. Okay, so we got the blue done. Pull the insulation up, and now we're going to do our yellow with the green stripes. So this is our ground wire. So we've got that side. Now we need to do our fork connectors. So let me grab my other style of crimper. This is a terminal crimp kit that I got a long time ago off of Amazon. It's a rose kit. It's just what I use. It does have interchangeable heads, so I do have a couple of different style heads on it. So I can basically swap over and use these to do what I just did, right? But it's just so much easier to leave this set for these types of connectors and use this to do the wires, especially on the smaller ones that we wind up doing all the time. So same type of thing here. Put the fork on, and I'll push it all the way down to where the the insulation is catching on the inside. These are red, so we're going to use the red jaws. And I line it up so it's in parallel with the crimps, and give it a good squeeze. This is a ratcheting style. So it's now put two crimps on it, one at the metal and one down here. Give it a little tug, and that's a good crimp. We'll do that 2 more times. Two. And 3. Yeah, some of these don't have interchangeable draws, some do. It's worth getting the ones that have the interchangeable jaws. It really is. You can get some of these at O'Reilly's and stuff. I get all of this stuff off of Amazon. These are my iCrimp, which used to be iSwiss, and these are the IWS-2820N. And these work really, really well for doing all your JST and stuff like that. I even use this for doing the wire side of the crimp for DuPont connectors, and then I use a standard DuPont connector to do the rear ones. So the difference is on these style connectors, like the spade connectors and our JSTs, they're coming in and the two pieces are getting bent down like this into the wire. On a DuPont, they're offset and they're looping around beside each other over the wire. So that's why you can't use these to do the DuPonts, or at least the insulation side of the DuPont. Okay, so the other piece that we're missing is the brown 80mm spade to spade. We just don't have that brown wire here. The only other wires I have are the red and black that we'll use to do the whatchamacallit, the connections to the DC side. So I can find some wire and the appropriate gauge and make my own little jumper. All it's going to be is the jumper wire between the jumper's the switch on your actual power inlet. So what are we using here? 20 gauge? 18 gauge. 18 gauge. Let's see what we got. Hey, there's a Meanwhile power supply. There's a 150 24 volt. There's another LRS power supply. I want to use that one. Water wire. Really, you have a voltage rating, but no gauge rating on it. Well, you know what? We are just going to use some of this. This is the wiring from the, what was this from? The VZBot. It is not the right color, but I believe it is the right gauge. So we'll just use a little bit of this because I don't have brown. I mean, I don't have brown. We need 80mm of wire to do the jumper. This is handy, so we will use it. way. Good. This is going to be spade to spade, right? Spade to fork, spade to fork, spade to fork. This is supposed to be spade to spade, and I have no more spade connectors. So I'm shy of wire and spade connector. It's okay though. It's okay though. I've got options. Those are forks. I need spade connectors. Bum, 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 bum. Where are my spade connectors? Oh. There they are. When all else fails, have spade connectors on hand. And these are, I'll say, shielded or protected spade connectors. So we can use these. They will protect, darn it. They will protect the connection so that we don't run into any issues. I guess we'll say that they're insulated. Same type of thing. We are going to come in and just crimp them using the crimpers that I just put away, because that's what we do. Is we think we're done and then we have to go back and get them. Okay. Same type of thing. We'll get our spade connector lined up. Take our wire, get it in there, give it a good squeeze. And that pulled straight out, so that actually did not hold. Interesting. And that could have been just because of where I placed the connector in there and did the squeeze, like where I had this at. Yeah, that's better. That was a me problem. And of course, I only grabbed 2 of them, so we go dig another one out. No, yeah, the 2.4s will give you a lot of crimping experience. And I will tell you that having wired up a number of printers by scratch to include a black box, right? So the black box printer here, which is a 5-head tool changer, I I did that one by scratch. That is a self-made wire harness throughout this whole printer. And then I validated the wiring harness, fixed some problems. The LDO harnesses came in. Steve Builds validated the LDO wire harnesses, figured out a couple of issues, and we got that squared away. So yeah, it's always fun to go through and validate wiring harnesses or build your own. Crimping ain't easy. It's not hard, it's just monotonous. It is just monotonous, and I hate to really do it on stream. A lot of times I will do it off stream, but it's good to do it on stream occasionally. And welcome in Playgrain. How's it going? Happy New Year to you as well. I think we're done with this stuff, and as soon as I say that, I will probably need it, so I'm just going to set it right there next to me. What were we doing? Okay, we've got our wires made, I believe. So the main wire, we're just going to be looking at our switch and everything here, the way that they have it and the way they're showing it. So the ground, which is our yellow with green stripe here, or green with darker green stripe, is going to go on the one end all the way over here on the side. Then we're going to have our blue. The blue is the neutral. Put that on there. That means the other one is our brown, and that's going to be the load side. Okay. And now, oops, not that one. That one goes at the top edge here on the inside. Get that on there. And our jumper goes from here to the switch. So we're only switching the load side of our switch. Right? We're not doing both sides, we're just doing the load side. So we're doing just like that. So we've got ground, neutral, jumpering load between the inlet to the switch, and then out of the switch will come the load to the power supply. Okay? So now we've got that done. Are you going to volunteer for that again? What's that, shenanigans? I'll probably going to need that again. You put it here. Character growth. Love the UK color power scheme. Yeah, well, it works better. A lot of times you'll see us use red and blue on these, and they shouldn't be. And for the most part, this color scheme is what's being done for most of the outlets. Even on the US side, they're going to that. So, oh, the amount of crimping. You know what? It's not the first time I've done a power supply, or not power supply, but a full up wire job, and it probably will not be the last. We'll put it that way. So I put the switch in. Now, the box is, if it was hanging like this is the way the box would hang. If it was mounted on the thing with the the wireless antenna facing up, and with your switch here, on is down, off is up. I really don't like that. I prefer off being down. And I would also prefer having the switch in front of the power, because that way the power is not in my way as I'm trying to get to the switch if I'm trying to do something massive, right? So what I should have done was looked at this, and I probably would have swapped this, like popped the switch out, turned it around, and put it back in. I can, set it in here like that so it's in the preferred position with off being down, on being up. It just means that my power plug's going to be in front. But then again, if I put this on feet anyhow, it's going to be out of the way. So that's how we're going to mount this in here. And how is that going to get, we'll see how that gets mounted in a minute. For now, we're going to lift up our plastic cover, move our extra fork connectors out of the way, move these things out of the way, and grab our screwdriver, because we're going to need to take some screws out. We're going to need ground, load, and neutral. Once again, load is the one that goes through our switch. It's our brown wire. We're going to bring that around and plug it in. Make sure it gets fully inserted and it is under the screw, fully inserted. Oh, dang, that's... Just find out that the screw is actually going to screw down over it. Gonna make me want to do it that way? Probably. Figures it's going to be a painful pain in the tuchus. Okay, so there's the load wire. Next up is going to be neutral. And it looks like I'm going to have to take these completely out because these fork connectors are pretty tight on the screws. So we got to lay them in there and then screw down through them. Yeah, I will tell you that I normally, like I will buy a Lineo like under the deck wiring harness. I think you still have to do some crimping with it, but a lot of it comes pre-done from Lineo and it makes life a lot easier. Now the wire sizes will support up to the 350 4-ons, so they're probably going to be longer than they truly need to be, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Only if you really want to keep all your wires really short would you have to go and cut and recrimp stuff. But I always go and get the Lineo underdeck wiring harness, and I've used it on non-boron printers as well. Okay, so we've got our switch installed, and what we're going to need to do is switch back over here to the CAD and figure out what the heck screws and stuff are used. M3x8 cap heads with locking nuts. Well, that's fabulous. How the heck? M3x8s and lock nuts. I've got M6 lock nuts. Like, I don't have M3x8 with lock nuts. I can definitely come up with them, but 3x6 button head screws, those are actually socket heads that they called for. Why they're not using countersunk screws here, I don't know. But here's what we're going to do. Where are they at? M3 lock nuts. Times 2. M3 lock nuts. M3 countersunk screws of an 8mm variety. Uh-oh, where's that at? There it is. M3 8mm screws. And like I said, we're going to use countersunk because these are countersunk on here, so we might as well. If you're doing a project that requires countersunk screws, like a death racer or something, go ahead and get the variety pack. If you're building printers, you could get something like this, but there's certain screw sizes that you're going to use a ton of. And I wind up just buying those directly. And then these are M4 screws that I've had to use for various build projects throughout the way. So I'll have M3 and M4 countersunk screws. But printer builds, you're primarily going to be using M3 and M5 socket head and button head screws. And then we're going to wind up having to, man, what a pain in the butt. Okay, it's going to be easier to take the side panel off to get this mounted up, and I probably should have done that before I did the wires. We'll take the side panel off real fast. Real fast is going to depend on what I'm going to do, because there's some 3x8s. Now these are M3x20s, and these are M3x6s. So 6 is going to be a lot easier to get out and a lot quicker than doing the 20s. Yeah, M3x8s you use a ton of, and quite honestly, you could probably get away with M3x6s for a lot of them. But I think what it was is more of M3x8s already in the BOM, so it's just easier to do that, right? So what we're going to do here is put that through, and we're going to put our lock nut on the other side. And hope that we don't need to go with M3x10 would have been better there. M3x10 I think would have been better there. Just would have given a little bit more bite on it. But it's on there. It's a switch. I don't think we're going to have many issues with it because it's just a switch. Slide that back in place. We'll get our M3x6 screws. Board line back up. Side put back on. Use M3x10 to do your stealth press because you were out of M3x. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is a lot of times you can go up and down. It's just really, do you have to be careful of electrical connection or not? And you really want to make sure that you have the appropriate amount of teeth. You need at least 3 teeth into the underlying fastener, right? That's why I'm saying these would probably be better off with the M3x10s. I'm not going to swap them out just yet. I say that, and then there's a part of me that's like, well, maybe. Those need to be at least M3x10s, if not 12s. Because they're going into lock nuts and they're not even getting to the plastic on the lock nut, that's my area of concern here. So 8s aren't going to work. You see if what kind of reveal 10 gets me. Yeah, 10s get me into the plastic, which will let me tighten it up and then it won't back up. Now the downside is that means I do need to take the side panel back off again to do the other side. We'll make that quick and simple. So Playgrain, how are you doing today? What brings you over here? Are you a 3D printing enthusiast? Are you a CNC enthusiast? And how did you find the channel? Just laid in there. So shenanigans, do you have any projects going on right now? Or do you have any big projects planned in the new year? Because you're kind of our resident fire starter. I figured you'd have something going tonight. A little pyrotechnic stuff of some sort. Okay. So we've got that part done. The next big piece that we need to do for the DC stuff would be to connect in to our power here. I think we're pretty close to done for just the cabinet itself. So we did that. Connect the VFD spindle for the advanced bundle only. We'll do this once we get the spindle stuff going. We need to add an earth, a neutral, and a line to our VFD, and then plug our spindle stuff in. So we'll do that when we get there. Once again, this is mains voltage coming into our VFD, and then the spindle coming down. So for our controller, we need the black wire, the negative, going between the power supply and our board. Only fire tonight. It's you poking at the fireplace. Gotcha. Biggest project is the new studio for 2025. Nice. I am not that familiar with the Mesa boards, Job Pro Wabadabos. I have heard of them. I'm just not that familiar with them. The CNCs that I've used is the Shape Oka, which has their own board. Well, I started with a 3018, right? That's now what, 4040 basically on the same frame. Got a crap controller, and yeah, I think it's running grblHAL. I have run Linux CNC on a Raspberry Pi to interface with it though. The Shape Oka uses its dedicated controller. The Milo is using, what is the Milo using? It's a Big Tree Tech board as well, I think. And then this is the Rodent. But yeah, I haven't really used any of the, I'll say the standard Mesa boards or anything like that. So we're going to need to connect this between the negative and the negative. So we're going into the screw down terminals up here, and that's 1 and 2. It doesn't show negative or positive. So we're going to have to trust that we're going from the V negative to the right side here. So negative to negative. And yeah, these will be long enough. And these are going to be both our fork connectors or spade connectors. So we'll need to get out our, the forked connectors. So we'll get out our fork connector crimpers. Now I do have some heat shrink connectors. You still crimp them and then heat shrink them around the edges. I don't think those are necessary. We'll use these. But I do have those other connectors available. Came with unused 4th and 5th axis. Nice. You got a 6040 from a guy on Facebook, and he had pulled the board out and had a mesa board in it. Gotcha. Well, that's interesting. Now, one thing I do want to see is I want to lift this or unscrew this and just see if one of these will actually fit in the terminal. If it doesn't, between the screw, which... Okay, yeah, we can get it in there. If it didn't fit, I was going to go over and use my own because I know that mine should fit. I am sure that there is plenty of information on those boards available via either Reddit or other forums. There's multiple forums out there, that's for sure. So we've got our negative at the power supply. Make sure we're nice and tight in there. And then this one will come up and go there on the right. Okay, good connection, good connection. Now the positive side comes out and goes to the E-stop. So this is the length of cable that they gave us. And it needs to go between here and the E-stop, and then from here to the E-stop. So the E-stop is providing the break point. Now looking at this, that's putting the E-stop like, yeah, this isn't much room. We're going to hold off on doing this part, and we'll wire up our E-stop a little bit later. Now there does seem to be some wire in the E-stop, and it's not very, like we're using 18 gauge wire, and then this is like 24 gauge wire. Like that's kind of ridiculous. So we'll want to look into doing the e-stop a little bit later. I want to do some research and make sure that I wire up the e-stop appropriately. Okay. And we're going to want to also install the e-stop so that it is useful where we can get to it. And we're probably going to wind up running it a lot longer cable to it than what comes with it, right? So we will mount this. I just don't think we're going to do it just yet. And quite honestly, we'll go ahead and mount the bottom plate. We'll get this ready to close up. Our grommet, printed grommet, just sits right through the side here. The whole purpose behind the grommet is just to make sure that we don't damage our cables any. Or cross thread the darn thing, because that would be... Huh? Probably put the bolt for this on from the inside. And hey, Darth Golem, how's it going? Welcome on in. So far, this is the one printed piece that doesn't seem to play nicely. Of course, threads are always finicky, especially pretty fine threads like these. Happy soon to be New Year. Exactly. Happy New Year to you too, Darth Golem. So I'm going to do is just try and run these threads through a couple of times because that will loosen them up a bit and hopefully make it so that we can get this on without a problem. And then I think we're done for the night. It's 8 o'clock. This is about where I wanted to stop for the night because once again, there's, well, football games on to watch. So we're just getting our box set up here. And there's going to be more wiring decisions based on where we mount everything. And I'm not going to be able to do that until I get the VFD and the spindle in, which I see some people are getting them in or they've arrived in the last day or so. I have not gotten a shipment notification yet from Portugal. So they had a shipment of VFDs that were delayed in Kazakhstan. And until those come in, we won't be able to finish the install here really. These are extra. We've got M6 by 12. I think these are the M6 locking nuts. I think the M6 by 12 would be used if we're going to mount this on the back of the mill. I don't think the M6 by 12 will work as far as installing these in the back here, but let me see. Oh. That's awesome. Yeah, M6 by 12 to put it on the, to mount it to the back, but M6 bolts will not go through it, or will not go through these. These are M5. Because they've got a washer inside of them, and that's an M5 washer, standard M5 foot. So, we would have to figure something else out if we just wanted to put feet on these, which is fine. I've got plenty of that stuff. That's no big deal. That's the M3x8s if we were going to use the M3x8s here. We didn't. Our fan, once again, the fan is directly connected to power. It is not running from the board here. We'll have our motors. So here we go. We've got our motors over here. I believe it's XYZ or XYZ. We'll have our end stops mount here. Based on the wiring diagram. Is that correct? Negative, Ghost Rider. So it's X, Y, Z for our motors, and then the end stops are actually X, Y, Z closer over here. These are not being used. Very minimal like wiring in here so far. We'll come off of here to send signaling to the VFD. And it looks like this last connection down here is where the touch probe will get installed. So about the only other thing that we can do in here is mount our fan up, and we'll have to take the connector off and wire our fan directly in. I'll figure out the best way to do the feet to mount our feet in. Hopefully I should be able to get in there without taking the whole thing apart, because that would suck. Yeah, I'd be able to do that. That's no big deal. So let's just figure out roughly how much space I want to give this. All of it, because we can route it underneath. I'm just going to pop these off, cut the ends off, put some connectors on here, and we'll be able to connect this straight in. So part of me really wonders like why we can't power these directly off the board. Anyhow, I digress. I keep saying I'm going to save connectors. Why? I've got too many of them already. Do that. We'll split these wires. A little bit of a split. Yes, I will need that. We'll need that too. What do I need? Strippers. Now I'm going to strip a pretty long amount here, because these are very thin wires. What I'm going to do is kind of fold them over there on themselves to give me a little bit more area to be squeezing on when I go to squeeze the connectors on. So we're just taking a long length and bending it over on itself to make the wires a little bit thicker. We're going to need some of our terminals here, fork terminals. Check that crimp, make sure it's nice and secure. We'll get the other one ready. Make sure that one's also nice and secure. And for now, I'm going to put this up because we're not going to be working with it. Put these down there. Need to go into the another negative and positive terminal. In this case, we're going to go into the middle ones because the other one we're going to use for the positive wire when we do that. And we're going to come underneath all the other wires. Negative wire. Take our positive wire and put it on the positive terminal. Okay. So now we can go ahead and put this in place. We'll just bring our wire down and around. Keep it out of the way. We'll need to install this using our 4 M3x8 screws. Okay. Let me go find the driver that I just threw over the way back here. Huh. I'm just going to do the same thing and get all of our screws started. And I don't know, but I think I may have just heard either a delivery truck or my first sounds of festivities for the evening. Okay, so there is our box fully done so far. We've got the top for our antenna, which is right here. We can add our rubber ducky to it. I'm not going to put that on just yet. We do have our top panel. Now this top panel does not have any countersinks, so it can go in any direction. Hex locking nut M3. Now that's some M3 screws. That's some M3 screws. I have no idea. So I do know that there are some issues with the BOM materials. I know that they are fixing that. Once again, this is a beta kit. We are just kind of working our way through it. We're going to use the M3x8 socket head cap screws here. I don't know why these would be different from all the others that are here. You know what? That's what we're going to do. We're going to, just because, I'm going to put these in here, M8 socket head cap screws, and I'm going to grab some M8 button head screws because, well, I've got some. We'll put button head screws in here so that all of the screws, except for the mounting screws for the board, are all button head. Because why not? Gives it a nice sleek appearance. Now we are going to have to get in here when we start doing the rest of the wiring, but for now I'm just closing things up. Once again, I've got to make a decision of where I am going to put this, if I'm going to mount it along the back or not. Or if I'm going to put this where it can be mounted along the back side, or just sit along the side and mount the VFD to the back of the mill. So once again, there's a couple of options for mounting this. So we're going to do some illustration over here. This is our mill. I'm going to see about moving the mill around a little bit so I don't kill myself and break my back. So we've got the mill here. The first mounting option is that it mounts right here at the back of the mill, which means the VFD would be mounted somewhere else. Now, a couple of the other things I've seen, VFDs mounted here, I've seen people take this and mount it horizontally along the back. I've seen them add a bar at the top and the bottom and I guess mount it like this along the back. So you've got your VFD here and this piece is mounted on a crossbar, just aluminum crossbars along the side here. Once again, you still have access to your power button and you keep your wiring to your VFD short, sweet, and simple. The other thing is that you remote mount this and the VFD, and you basically do an extruded box, or a box out of aluminum extrusions with plexiglass, and you mount things on DIN rails. And that box can be a separate standalone box or be included in the enclosure that is yet to come out just yet. I'm kind of the mind of I want to put this in an enclosure eventually because, well, chips and metal chips at that make a mess. And I don't want to get metal chips in this and cause things to go bad. So we've got some other decisions to be made. Once again, I don't want to do the final wiring of the components yet because I'd have to cut wires. And I don't want to do that until I don't want to cut the wires to length until I decide where I'm going to put it. So we need to make the decision of where we're, if we're going to do the enclosure, and if we do the enclosure, how are we going to route the cables to keep them up and out of the way and well protected. So yeah, we still have some decisions to make there. That there, we'll put that there. These will go in there. That will go in there. All of these go in the other bag and be used as needed when we make final decisions. So fasteners are all in this bag. That's electronic stuff. That's for the handles, which I haven't installed yet because as soon as I put the handles on, then they're going to be tripping and catching hazards. So I don't want to do the handles until I absolutely am done. And they'll be the little jog handles, right? So feet, electronics. Okay, so this is kind of where we're at. We've got our emergency stop switch. We've got the remainder of the electronics, so our antenna and our JST connectors, the feet and such like that. These are extra fasteners and stuff that we'll hold on to for the moment. I did figure out that these other printed parts, so we'll have to take these off the brim, and these will be used along the back side of the X-axis just to hold the wire from the motor and the end stop in the groove of the 40 millimeter, the 4160 X-axis plate. This will hold the wires in there, so this goes along the back. And then these, interestingly enough, are going to be used to mount the VFD. So 2 screws go into the VFD, and then the other screws will go through the part here into the mount, or more or less, I think the center parts with the countersunk will go into the will get mounted on the extrusions, and then we'll bring screws in from the back side to go into the VFD mount. So that's how this will mount the VFD. This is cable management, and once again, these were alignment tools. And altogether, this is the extras, or not the extras, but the remaining bits and bobs for our RatRig mill. And like I said, we're kind of done until we get the spindle. We can't go any further until we get the spindle at a minimum. Once we get the spindle, we'll be able to figure out like wire lengths and stuff like that, and just make some final decisions of how are we going to mount the VFD and the rest of the electronics. I'm fine with the VFD being on the back, but then I do want to remote mount the electronics so that it's, I don't know, maybe it can go on the side. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. But those will be decisions for another day. And yes, we got another rubber ducky. So that will be added to the rubber ducky collection that I've got. And for now, folks, I think we are going to be done for tonight's stream. Thank you so much for being here. Eastside Mario's has all-you-can-eat salad. Oh, nice. Nice. Looks like Pez Liz is up and running. We have not raided into her in a long time. So let's go ahead. I'm getting a raid started over to Pez Liz. Thank you, everybody, for being here and sharing your New Year's Eve with me. We've got a lot going on in 2025 on the channel and some growth going on. So thank you once again for being here. And I will see you guys, today is Tuesday. I will see you guys Thursday once we're into the new year. So thank you very much. And you guys have a great night. And I will see you all later. Bye now. And for those of you that are watching this over on my YouTube channel, please do me a favor, like and subscribe. And when you subscribe, please make sure to click the bell so that you get all the notifications when new streams are uploaded to the channel. In 2025, I will be doing some YouTube live streams, as well as some other content on YouTube. So thank you very much. And as always, the algorithm's going to recommend a video to you on that side. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.